All right. It is March 8th, 11:57. So I'm saying I got this done before the end of Women's Day, International Women's Day. And part of my passion and purpose is alleviating stress for women. Because after, what I've seen in the last 4 days, as much as we can spout equality and blah, 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 it's a whole bunch of bullshit. I have seen some absolutely terrible things in the last 4 days. It's literally taken the wind right out of me, but it's also fired me up with energy more than I've ever had before. And today's the first day I got a text message from my mom in a long time, and I got a thank you from the mother of my boys. So, to all the women out there, I'm going to focus on kind of where I relate. Women raising children by themselves, or, the amount of times I've had to hear in the last year a story about how women have had their children stolen from them, or how a woman has been raped, then drugged, then gang raped, then re-drugged, then drugged enough till addiction is inevitable, while continually being gang raped, and then rescued by the person that raped her in the first place. It's more than I would imagine 100 people have heard in their lives. And Mother Earth tonight was smiling as I rode my bicycle and decided to grab a cigar and a bottle of wine. I was going to get a bottle of port, but right in front of the bottle of port that I usually get was a bottle of wine called Bicicleta. And the moment I looked at the label, I heard Tash Sultana as she was singing "Welcome to the Jungle," saying "Thank you, Chile," and this is a product of Chile. And that's like what happened, when my mom called or texted me this morning. I put her picture up. I found a picture of hers randomly stuffed in and it ain't random. There ain't nothing called random. It's all part of a plan. But it's midnight right now, and so I'm a little bit late, so maybe I was operating on the lunar calendar there, or maybe the Gregorian, or who knows, but that is kind of why I'd like to go by that. If I didn't have to have a name, I wouldn't have a name. I'd have a name as a symbol, and the symbol would be a horizontal line representative of the Asian way to say the word one, E, and those that represent the lunar calendar or respect the lunar calendar of time, and then a vertical line representative of the Gregorian calendar, or those that use the sun to tell time. And so, because time, a construct of mankind, and hey, that's where we all seem to kind of battle a little bit, east and west, yin and yang, night and day, and the moon above and the sun below. I don't know. It's up to you, I guess. Depends on which kind of show you want to see. But this is all, I'm going to read this to my boys. Because if you were a single mom right now, probably one of the things that you would like the most would be like a break. And I know if my two boys are listening to me, I haven't seen them for a long time. It's almost been a year, boys. I hope I get to see you again. But I'm going to read you 2 books tonight. And I'm going to try and you guys get to listen to this before you go to bed, so you get to give your mom like a 20 to 30 minute break. And the first one, I found this at a bus stop. That's how, when you start doing the right thing, boys, so I'm flipping right over. This is you. A&W? Yeah, A&W. That's right. You know what time it is? It's go time. And you know what I'm going to start? I'm going to start right now, okay? So, this one will be 30 minutes, okay? It's 12:02. We're going to stop at 12:30. 12:32. I found 4 books at a bus stop, and I keep finding books. Peter Pan's one of them. Like this, like anything, boys, I have been really paying attention to the right thought, the right choice, the right thing, and not even thinking about what anybody cares about it, because I know what's right or wrong. And doing the right, and not even after thinking about the action, like it's like having the right thought first, just the right idea, the right way of thinking to take care of others and to make sure others are good, and take care of yourself first too. And also to have fun too, like fun's so important. Anyway, these books came out of here, and this one said true stories of children. Okay, so there's like, there you go. And here we go, boys. I'm just going to read the start of this one, and I'm going to get into the book. I'm just going to read the start of this one. It's by Georgia C. Eliot, and it was printed by the Church of God News Print Shop, Post Office Box 564, Knoxville, Tennessee, postal code, or zip code, 37901. The preface says, I tell you these stories as they were told to me. I have used different names. That is all that has been changed. I hope they will be a benefit to all who read them. They were bright spots in the lives of those who told them to me, and may they encourage other children to believe in the Lord Jesus in my prayer. Mrs. Georgia C. Eliot, Los Angeles, California. Let's go into L.A. Woo! A prayer of faith. Little Alice had been crippled for months and had to walk with a crutch and sometimes a cane. The doctors would not give her any hope that she would ever walk without a crutch. She often envied the other children as they ran about so freely, while she had to hobble along with a crutch. It was not so bad in the winter time when she had to be indoors, but when the warm sunny weather came and she felt like racing and skipping, then she grew so tired of her crutch. Alice was a little Christian girl, and often her father read to her of how Jesus healed people when he was here on earth, and they talked about the various healings, but no one in their neighborhood had ever heard about healings in these days. Then, one day, her father heard of a woman who believed in healing, that is, healing in answer to prayer. At once Alice wanted to go and see her, but her father did not have time to take her except at night, and he did not think that was a good time to go, so they waited, but often talked of finding some way that he might take her to be prayed for. At last, one of Alice's little friends heard of their wish to see this woman, and she offered to go with Alice to ask the woman to pray for her, and so Alice had her wish. The woman talked with Alice about what it meant to believe on Jesus for healing, and learned that Alice had committed to memory many Bible verses on healing. Then the woman laid her hands on Alice and prayed for her, asking the Lord Jesus to make her all well. Soon after, the little girls started for their homes. As they walked along near the riverbank on their way home, Alice stopped and tossed her crutch far out into the river. She meant to trust the Lord Jesus to heal her. She wanted to lean on his promises and not on the crutch. As the crutch floated away, Alice started to walk home. Why? She could walk real well. True, she limped some. But anyway, now that she had no crutch, she just had to walk. Yes, and she had to pray all the time that the good God would make her all well. Sure enough, in a few weeks, she did not even limp. The doctors were surprised and could not understand how it was that she was now well. But Alice knew she had asked the Lord Jesus to heal her, and he had done so. Now she could run and play just as the other children. And how thankful she was. Whoo! Boom, baby. Boom, shakalaka. That's what I'm talking about, boys. That's what I'm talking about. You've got to have faith. And boys, I have heard your prayers. I have heard your prayers. That's why I wear this little red ring. I got so much stuff around here to remind me of you guys. but I have heard your prayers, and the Lord or Jesus or the Tao or whoever you guys been praying to, maybe it was Optimus Prime, I don't know what you call him, but whoever you have been praying to has heard your prayers, because I have been getting the good luck that you guys have been praying for me. So I'm going to read you this book because it's Women's Day, and part of the incubator that I want to start here, if we can find the right partners, will be to provide funding for financial security for the children of single moms. And I'm talking about things that maybe you don't believe to be possible, such as utopia. And I believe it's possible. I believe it's possible for a world where women don't get beat and their ass kicked, and oppressed and literally manhandled systemically, and where those in power learn to realize that a yin-yang is perfectly balanced when there's a man and a woman's point of view, and then the strength, when you put the strength of a woman's compassion, caring, empathy, and understanding, motherly love into your logic and your strength and your reasoning and you get her done mentality, you have a perfect balance. Anyway, in a world that I believe exists, utopia, which is a state of the world where all souls and humans live together and play together in a sustainable manner, never working a day in their life, because you know what? They never work because they get up like warriors doing what they gotta do because it is their God-given gift, and they love doing it. They love doing it so much that they feel guilty not to do it. They did it when they were young, like 4 to 7 years of age, when their brain was all theta wave activity. That's when they did it, and they did it first thing when they got up, before they went to school. They got in trouble because they were doing it after bedtime, or thinking about it, or reading about it, or watching it on TV, or YouTubing it, or whatever. That was their thing. That's their thing, their God-given gift. And they do it. They did it. They practiced it without compensation or recognition for doing it. They just loved doing it. They just wanted to keep on getting better doing it, what they were doing. And if we supported that, and I help people find that, get that back and find out what that is, that's where I can start teaching people how to make money out of thin air. And that's why I want to literally pay you to pay me less. Okay, you're going to pay me less than I pay you to allow me to teach you a thing or two that is not my work. I'm just a relayer. I'm just a messenger. Something's funneling through me, and then that's I can see the future, and I just it's not about seeing the future. It's about making the future, and it's it's got this whole manifestation concept, and then there's this whole faith concept, and then there's this whole behavioral quantitative analysis kind of concept, and it's got a money back guarantee. Okay, let me throw this back at you here. I'd like to let you help me help you, so I can learn from you, and I'm willing to pay you more money than you have to pay me, so that I can teach you a way to make money out of thin air. Now, not only is there a money back guarantee, I'm so confident in what I'm going to teach you that when you pay me, 49% of what you pay me is going to be given to other people that are less advantaged than us, or maybe third world countries. Maybe I'm really focusing on women and single moms and their children. I'm not even listening to the woman's side of the story, because there's 3 sides to every story. There's his, there's hers, and the truth. And so I'm focusing on their kids, and I want to just make sure, I want to give that woman freedom, financial freedom of her own mentality, to stop worrying about the financial security of her children by buying dirt through a limited liability partnership, if that works. And if it doesn't, That's the end game. If initially it could be sole proprietorship, or it could be a Canadian registered corporation. But it's 49%. The 51% is owned by three children, and whose guardian has control of the 51%, and it's non-sellable. It actually just prints an annuity, and of that 51%, of that, we're going right to Pareto's rule. 80% of that revenue goes into funding. I'd hope a crypto mining tool to fund like an education savings plan, or a child annuity plan for those mothers that are raising children on their own and are working their butts off trying to be the best mom and like bring in a big income, and give their children all that they can, and they're doing a lot. And a lot of it involves money, and I hate to say that money makes the world go round, but if we just like looked at the pure mass of the amount of gold that China bought when like 2019 came around, 2020, we could say that literally like E equals MC squared. Thanks, Einstein. Like, I'm breathing the same air that you breathed, and baby, I believe that there's some questions that should not be asked. Like one of them, which is, why am I here? Or why? Or is there a creator or ultimate power? Like, you don't need to ask why. Just open your third eye, or like I said, back to Tash Sultana. Thank you for your time, and let's get into Peter Pan. Walt Disney's Peter Pan, 1993, first American edition. Wendy Darling and her brothers, John and little Michael, were restless. It was almost their bedtime, but they weren't sleepy at all. "What shall we play?" asked John with a sigh. "I'm tired of all our old games." "Well," said Wendy, "I could tell you a story about Peter Pan." "Hooray!" shouted Michael and John. So Wendy told them about Peter Pan and the pirates. Wendy knew lots of stories about Peter Pan. Peter was a magical boy who lived in Neverland with his friends, the Lost Boys, and a pixie named Tinkerbell. In Wendy's stories, Peter and his friends had lots of exciting adventures. After Wendy had finished this story, John and Michael pretended to be pirates. "Take that!" shouted John as he waved his toy sword. Just then, the children heard a voice just outside their window. "It must be around here somewhere," the voice said. The children looked out. It was Peter Pan. Peter flew by the nursery window often. He loved Wendy's stories, especially since they were all about him. But the last time he had visited the nursery, he had left something behind. "Have you seen my shadow?" Peter asked. "Oh, Peter," said Wendy with a chuckle. "Here's your shadow. Sit down and I'll sew it back on." While Wendy sewed Peter's shadow back on, her brothers asked about Peter Neverland. "Neverland," said Peter with a laugh. "It's a wonderful place. I'll take you there," he offered. "Once we're there, Wendy, you can tell the Lost Boys your stories, and John and Michael can help us fight pirates." "But how can we get there?" Wendy asked. "That's easy. All you've got to do is fly. Just think happy thoughts," Peter told them. Yeah. The children thought their happiest thoughts, but they still couldn't fly. "We won't be able to go with you," said a disappointed Wendy. Peter was puzzled for a moment, but then he laughed. "I forgot the pixie dust," he said, and he sprinkled some of Tinkerbell's magic dust on the children, and in no time at all they were flying through the air on their way to Neverland. Oh, I remember playing pool with pixie dust, baby. Hustling a hustler. Before the children knew it, they had reached Neverland, Wendy sighed and said, "Oh, Peter, it's just as I dreamed it would be." Suddenly they heard a mighty boom, and a cannonball zoomed past them. It had come from the pirate ship below, which belonged to Captain Hook, Peter's enemy. The captain had lost his left hand fighting with Peter, and a hungry crocodile had swallowed it. Now, Captain Hook spent all his time trying to catch Peter Pan. "Don't be scared," said Peter. "We can outfly him easily." Peter brought Wendy and her brothers to his home. He lived in a secret underground hideout with the Lost Boys and Tinker Bell. The Lost Boys were waiting outside to welcome Peter Pan and his new friends. They were happy to hear that Wendy was going to tell them stories. But Tinker Bell was unhappy. She thought Peter Pan liked his new friends better than he liked her. She was especially jealous of Wendy. So while Peter showed Wendy John and Michael his secret hideout, Tinker Bell flew away. Later, the Lost Boys offered to take Michael and John on a tour of Neverland. "Oh boy," said Michael as they marched through the jungle. "I bet we'll have plenty of exciting adventures here." As the boys followed John through the jungle, none of them noticed all the mysterious eyes that watched them from behind the bushes and trees. And without warning, a group of Indians leaped out of the bushes and grabbed the boys. The Indians tied up the boys and took them to the Indian village. At the village, the Indian chief was waiting for them. He was very angry. "Where is my daughter, Princess Tiger Lily?" he asked the Lost Boys. "What have you done with her?" "We haven't done anything with her," said the boys. "Will you let us go now?" "No," answered the chief. Meanwhile, Peter was giving Wendy her own tour of Neverland. As they flew, Peter suddenly noticed Captain Hook and his first mate, Mr. Shmee, in a small boat. They were heading for Skull Rock, and they were not alone. They had captured Princess Tiger Lily. Peter Pan and Wendy flew closer. "If you don't tell us where Peter Pan's secret hideout is, we will leave you here," Captain Hook said to Tiger Lily. But Tiger Lily refused even to look at Captain Hook. At once, Peter flew down to rescue Tiger Lily. "Stop what you're doing, Hook, or you'll have to answer to me," Peter shouted. Captain Hook and Peter Pan began fighting, but Peter was much too quick for the captain. In the water nearby, a hungry crocodile watched as Peter and Hook fought. It was the very same crocodile that had once swallowed Hook's hand. The crocodile had liked the taste so much that he always followed Hook around, hoping to get another bite. Hook was no match for Peter, and he soon fell into the water. The crocodile had been waiting for this chance. Hook, however, was determined to escape its gaping jaws. "Shmee!" he shouted. "Save me!" "I'm coming, Captain, I'm coming, hold on," Shmee shouted as he rowed swiftly toward Hook. While Shmee rescued Hook from the crocodile, Peter quickly untied Tiger Lily. Then Peter flew away, carrying Tiger Lily in his arms. Wendy followed them to the Indian village. The chief was very happy to get his daughter back. He released all the boys at once, and then he gave orders for a big celebration. Everyone sang and danced and had a wonderful time. After the party, Peter, Wendy, and all the boys went back to the secret hideout. Tinker Bell hadn't gone to the party. She was still jealous of Wendy, and when everyone returned, Tinker Bell flew off by herself. She was so angry that she didn't notice someone watching her, and suddenly the little pixie found herself trapped in a pirate's cap. Shmee hurried back to the ship with Tinker Bell. Once aboard the ship, Shmee released Tinker Bell. "Welcome aboard, Miss Tinker Bell," said Captain Hook. "I'm sure you have noticed," he continued, "that things have gone from bad to worse on this island since that little girl Wendy arrived. Tomorrow I'll be leaving the island forever. I'll take Wendy to sea with me if you tell me where I can find her." All Tinker Bell wanted was to get rid of Wendy. On the map, she showed Hook where the hideout was, and she didn't know Hook was really after Peter Pan. "You've been most helpful," sneered Hook. "Now I have Peter Pan where I want him." Hook locked Tinker Bell in a lantern and ordered his men to surround Peter's hideout. Meanwhile, Wendy and her brothers had decided it was time to go home. The Lost Boys wanted to join them, but Peter didn't want to leave Neverland, so he stayed behind in the hideout and never saw the pirates capture Wendy and the boys as they left. The pirates took Wendy and the boys to the ship. They tied the frightened children to the big mast. "I'll give you a choice," said Hook. "Become pirates or walk the plank." When Tinker Bell had heard Hook's plan, she knew she had to warn Peter. She was finally able to break the glass in the lantern and escape. Then she quickly flew back to the hideout. Excitedly, she told Peter that he had to save Wendy and the boys. Back on the pirate ship, Captain Hook was demanding an answer. "What will it be?" said Hook. "A pirate's life or the plank." "I'm sure Peter will rescue us," Wendy whispered to the boys. Then, bravely, she said to Captain Hook, "We will never become pirates. We will die first." And she walked onto the plank and jumped off. Everyone waited for the splash, but the splash never came. Peter Pan arrived just in time to catch Wendy as she fell. "Oh, Peter, I knew you would come," Wendy said happily. "Woo-hoo!" Peter took Wendy to a safe place. Then he returned to fight Hook. "I'll get you this time, Peter Pan," cried Captain Hook. The two began fighting while the children and the pirates watched. As always, Peter was much quicker and smarter than the captain. They fought all the way up the ship's rigging. As Hook jabbed his sword at Peter, he lost his balance, much to the delight of the hungry crocodile below. Hook fell into the sea with a big splash. Once the pirates saw that Peter had defeated their captain, they gave up the fight. They decided to follow Hook and abandon ship. It was difficult for the pirates to keep up with their captain, however. Hook was swimming very fast, trying to escape the hungry crocodile. Back on the ship, everyone cheered for Peter Pan. They were surprised to hear him give orders to cast off. "Where are we going?" Wendy asked him. "I'm taking you home," Peter told her. At Peter Pan's command, Tinker Bell happily sprinkled the pirate ship with the golden pixie dust to make it fly. And soon the children were back in the nursery. They knelt by their window and watched the magical ship sail off into the starry sky. And as they waved goodbye, Wendy and her brothers knew they would never forget their adventures with Peter Pan. The end. Peter Pan and pixie dust, baby. That's a real important story about how you go to sleep. Reprogram your mind. Break your subconscious habits. I'd love to teach you how to do that. 10, 12, 24, just about 30 minutes. There's a lot in that story, a lot of deep stuff in that story. And one is having faith that Peter Pan is gonna get you. God bless you. And bless you, Mother Earth. Tonight she was smiling. Happy International Women's Day. And welcome to the Church of Now. Boom shakalaka. For another fallen angel. The next story I'm gonna read, and I'm gonna try and read this whole book tonight because it relates to me. It relates to the fallen angel, and it talks about the big wave. It relates to me the way COVID came and separated me from my family. I've never read this book, and I can tell you what this book is about. I can tell you the pain. It's a memoir by Sonali Teranyangala. On the cover it says, "I thought nothing of it at first. The ocean looked a little closer to our hotel than usual. That was all. It was our friend Orlantha who alerted me. A short while before, she'd knocked on our door to ask if we were ready to leave. We almost were." That's what's coming up next. Boys, think like Peter Pan, think like Wendy, think like Michael and John. Anything, 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 anything possible.